Today, I, Lila of Nevillution, will be giving commentary on Neville Goddard's 1969 lecture, The Creator. Neville says, if you turn and think something on the outside is the cause of your good fortune or your misfortune, you are giving up the truth about God for a lie and worshiping the thing created instead of the Creator. Rather, you should relate your outer world to an imaginal activity within. If you do not accept the fact that God is the cause of everything in your outer world, then you do not honor your imagination as God. So the big lesson that Neville is teaching here is that we must take this moment and to look around at everything around us, all that we're going through, and give honor that our imagination created it. But in order to master our fate, we must understand this connection between the reality we're living and our imagination. Neville goes on to say, the Bible begins on this note. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Here we see that God created the within, for we are told that heaven is within, and God is in his heaven, and he created the earth which is without. How did God bring the earth into existence if it is on the outside, and he is in heaven on the inside? By the act of movement. The Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Here we find that motion is the cause, that without motion it is impossible to bring forth anything. And how does God move? Through the act of imagining. So Neville is teaching you that you must learn to move in imagination to create the reality that you want. How do you move your imagination to move from where you are now to where you want to be? In imagination, look at the world as you would see it, if you already were where you wanted to be, if you already had what you wanted to have. One of the easiest ways to do this is take something fixed like a friend. How would they see you now? What would they say to you? And you can hear them in your imagination, or even act it out loud. Hear them congratulating you that you're where you want to be, and or you have what you want to have. And how does it feel to be congratulated for your success? That feeling has moved you. Sometimes it only takes once, but if you still desire and you still don't have what you want, repeat the act. You might repeat it daily or even a few times a day. Let it be joyful and natural. There's no need to overdo it, as overdoing it can bring the opposite, more effort. And here is another powerful exercise that Neville gives to cement the success of your imagination. If my desire is to be in San Francisco, I must sleep this night as though I were already there, and as I am falling off to sleep, I must think of the place which I formerly knew to be my home, which is Los Angeles, as 500 miles to the south of me. That is a motion, and without motion, it is impossible to bring anything forward into this world. This is true of everything, for in the beginning, God created the inner and the outer, then he moved, and creation began. Everything is within you and can be brought into being by this simple technique. Desiring to visit my family in Barbados, I slept in New York City as though I were in Barbados, and I thought of New York City as 2,000 miles to the north. Then I received a letter from my brother justifying the trip and enclosing a draft to cover my personal expenses. I had not written my brother to ask him for this money, but while I was physically sleeping in New York City and imagining myself in Barbados, my brother had the impulse to write and give me reasons why I should come home. I hadn't been there in 12 years, and my family needed me to complete the link. He justified his letter, justified the draft, and justified the expenses he would incur, while I, without a nickel, simply imagined I was already in Barbados. And you can do it too, just like Neville did. Where is it that you want to be? Or what is it that you want to be or to have? You too can make this a movement in your imagination, where it's already done. For Neville tells you, for everything that is happening to you was set about by your imagination, whether intentional or unintentional, such as when we have fears. With this technique, the mystics say, you can have anything that you want, but it must be a desire that's genuine, because it is often those desires that we are willing to persist as long as it takes. Most people only assume for a small time that they are what they want, and then they go back to their old state of not having. This is what Neville calls being double-minded. You must persist. Just like if you want to be successful in business, you can. It doesn't matter how many creditors you owe or what the bank says you have. It doesn't matter what your bank statement says or what your debts are. Assume success and persist, and you cannot fail. This is the law, and we're all living by it already. So learn now to use it intentionally and to persist until you prove it yourself and master your fate. You must watch over your imagination, because the things you're imagining, if unchecked, will eventually manifest. Neville tells the story of a young lady who was watching on TV and reading in the papers the various murders that were going on around her, and she became filled with fear. She was so scared that for 2 months she slept with a knife under her pillow in the back of her mind, envisioning that if an intruder came, she would defend herself. And then one night, a man did enter her house, holding a knife up to her throat and telling her, "Take off your pajamas." And just like she had imagined in the back of her mind over those 2 months, she got the knife from under her pillow and began to stab him over and over until he ran for his life. Just like the most beautiful things, even the most horrible events must be imagined first. In closing, Neville says, "I have introduced you to the creator of your life. And now that you know you are the creator, honor yourself as the creator. And as Neville has already said, do not give your power away. Do not give it to all that is created. If you will but control what you are imagining, not a thing is impossible to you, and you will discover that when you find God, the Creator, your values change. You will no longer worship things. Rather, you will worship God, the Creator of the things. It is so thrilling to imagine something for yourself or a friend and watch it come into being, and then to give thanks to the one who did it within you. Thank you. Thank you for all you have created, all you're currently creating, and all you'll continue to create. But now do so intentionally, with the wisdom, with what Neville has given you here in this lecture. Control your imagination and hatch out your heaven.